Seems fair to me.
Fair decision.
Yes, he did.
Well, if you don't know what fair is, you can't make it.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Well, happy holidays, everybody, and thanks for joining us for another edition of Donnybrook. Great to have you with us, and so thankful to have our friends at the Gatesworth making this program possible, as you do week in and week out. Let's meet our panelists, starting with Wendy Wiese from KTRS, the media veteran, with us tonight, along with Mr. Bill McClellan from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. He's one of our founders, Mr. Ray Hartmann, and from STLmag.com, the St. Louis American and beyond, Alvin Reid. And we want to thank our fantastic crew for really making this set so festive on this show before the big holiday.
Let's keep it up all year. Let's not change.
Love that.
May as well.
It's a nice feel.
No, thank you so much for doing that.
Beautiful.
Hey, Bill, I want to ask you about something that I did not see coming. I did not expect this at all, and that is the prosecutors in the St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office had a vote on Monday, and they did vote to unionize, and not only form a union, but be affiliated with the St. Louis Police Officers Association, the City of St. Louis Police Officers Union. And I did not see this coming, but I assume that the prosecutors there, I think there were 60 or so, were seeing a change in management with Wesley Bell coming in, and they wanted certain job protections before he took office. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I would have voted for it. I mean, I'm always in favor of unions and associations of working people getting together, so I would have said sure. And I don't think of this as a slam against Wesley Bell, and I would hope that Wesley Bell doesn't see it that way. I mean, I think that management always gets the union it deserves. And if management is decent to the workers, the union is good. I like union.
I think it was definitely a slam against Wesley Bell, and I think it shows that Wesley Bell...
It shouldn't be, is what I'm saying, right?
Well, it is, and it'd be one thing if there was a movement to form a union after he'd been in office, you know, and had done something or whatever. This, to me, was very definitely a shot across the bow. I mean, I won't be as... Charles Jaco has a piece in St. Louis American basically likening it to a cross burning, but...
That's ridiculous.
Well, I'm just
That's
saying...
on its face, it's ridiculous.
But I'm just saying, whatever... You fill in the blanks why you think it was what it was. The fact is, it shows that Wesley Bell has a very high mountain to climb that Bob McCullough
Why?
didn't have
Because
to.
of unionizing? Why is that a
look,
problem?
I'm a union person too. I think, but you always look into why do people, form unions, because they are not treated fairly by management, and they're, and they need to come together in numbers to protect themselves. I don't think that's a situation in St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office. We've all been in places where there was a change of management. I never feared for my job any kind of repercussion because I was doing my job right. I think some people showed their hands by this vote because what they're saying is this guy's going to come on and he probably already knows what I'm doing, what's going on, and he may not be happy with it. It's like precautionary, not because they fear him, it's precautionary because they know they ain't doing their jobs right.
I don't think that's fair, Alvin. I mean, I think if... like I say, I'm a big believer in unions, and I believe if people want to band together and a new team coming in, it might be reason enough to do it.
It's their constitutionally protected right to organize, as we all know. And I think we all know that there is safety in numbers. That's why NFL players, NBA players, and baseball players all unionize.
Charlie, what is it from Wendy on this?
I want to hear from Wendy too, okay. But let's be honest. I mean, we were all in favor of right to work, so how can you be in favor of right to work and deny the prosecutors their day to organize?
It's the optics of it. If we had known it was this super secret process by which they all decided to unionize. If there had been some sort of discussion before the election, I'm just not comfortable with the optics of it. I'm not comfortable with the fact that we're still talking about the fact that Wesley Bell is the first African-American prosecuting attorney. It's 2018. And to preemptively say we're going to unionize when this guy's the prosecuting attorney, I just don't like it.
And it also wasn't transparent, because my understanding, and because we don't know, is that a lot of former investigators, I think, who were city cops, were part of the vote. So we don't even know that a majority of the prosecuting attorney's office voted.
They wouldn't disclose
and my point is, of course, they have the right.
It was a legally run election. First of all, let's just stop right there. Let's stop right there. The NLRB overlooks these things. There is no way that this union vote was done improperly.
No one's saying
this
that.
is what we've all been encouraging people to organize for a long time. The only problem you have is that the boss coming in is someone you like, and you think he's going to have trouble when these prosecutors organize.
Here's my problem. First of all, I think they have an absolute right to organize. No one's questioning that. And there is, as Wendy says, the optics. One of the things is police and prosecutors should have a little more, and I'm no fan of Jeff Rourke, obviously, and I think that's a factor. I'll admit that. But the idea of police and prosecutors being in the same union, there should be more independence.
City and county. So
I just don't like.
County police
talk about optics. I don't like it.
I'm just saying the county police are not represented by the same union.
You don't have to answer this question.
I get it.
But I will ask myself this. Would this be going on if Bob McClellan had won the primary?
No.
And it wouldn't be happening.
No,
so
because
why is it happening?
Uncertainty, and it's job protection, which is why people unionize. Now, let me say, with regard to the police, here's why they went with the police union, because the police union has swagger. And in fact, our union, the Screen Actors Guild, just hired a very able lawyer from the police unions in Illinois, Amy Rose, because there's a certain swagger that some police unions have that some of us as actors would not ordinarily have in the workplace. So it makes, there's some unions that have heft, like the Teamsters and the police, and there are others that don't have the same.
And I hope that they don't need anything, and I don't suspect they will. I think Wesley Bell is going to go in there and do a very fine job and be the reform guy that he's talked about and hard on violent crime. I think he'll do fine.
Well, to me, that was a vote of no confidence to him. And I will say this, Charlie, when I was in Lansing, in the Guild, we were part of the Teamsters Union.
There you go. I mean, all right.
But I think Ray is right when he calls it a shot across the bow. And there's your Christmas miracle.
I don't think that unionizing is a shot across any bow.
I think timing-wise, it's just a curious thing.
Well, it's optics for some and jobs for others. Alvin Reid, I want to ask you about Chief John Hayden's town hall meeting last night where he discussed crime in the city, and homicides are down. He pointed to a number of factors, including surveillance cameras and patrols by the city police, which are targeting certain neighborhoods. Turns out that some crimes are up, including carjackings, and I believe rape, if I'm not mistaken. But he has decided that he's going to concentrate now on two neighborhoods in 2019. One, Dutchtown in South St. Louis, and the other is downtown St. Louis, bordered by Lenore K. Sullivan, out to Jefferson, north to Delmar, and south to Choteau. What do you think about that?
Well, that's ridiculous, because you have 7 or 8 less homicides over the course of the year. And by the way, the year isn't over yet, so I wouldn't just be counting my chickens. So now, just forget the whole north side where 90% of the people in St. Louis are murdered at. We're going to concentrate on downtown. It gets the high profile, it gets the headlines, but that is not where the overwhelming majority of murders are occurring. To Chief Hayden, just be careful. It's not politics. This is about murder and death and horror and all that. And because you're down a little bit, now you're going to celebrate. Now we're going to protect Busch Stadium and all the rest of downtown. Give me a break, man. Come on. You need to be concentrating your resources where the true crime is, where the murder is, and that's the city's north side.
Well, he has been. And I applaud Chief Hayden, first of all, for being out there doing town halls, which is what he should be doing. And I disagree with you about downtown. I understand it's not. And I started a newspaper there once, and it had the lowest crime rate, but it also has a huge perception problem right now. And I think when we've had a number of incidents around Busch Stadium in the past year, and I think it's Chief Hayden didn't say anything about pulling resources out of North City, and I will give you this, that they're of course going to celebrate statistics when they go down, and I think that's a little arbitrary because they go down, they go up, but give him credit. He has a strategy identifying the highest crime areas and doing not only bringing in more police officers, but bringing in social services. So I think he's on the right track, and I don't think he's abandoning North St. Louis. I don't think he presented as either or. I think people need to hear that he's concerned about downtown.
Well, I think it's the biggest issue, really, for the city. I think it's almost an existential issue because the narrative for the city now is crime. I mean, we have so many good things going on, but we can't learn about it because everybody's talking about the carjackings, which are way up, and they are way up in downtown.
And they're violent.
And they are violent, and the big problem is
did he suddenly find more money or more police officers? How is he going to be concentrating on these two neighborhoods and not taking resources away from another?
You're right.
How? I mean, that doesn't add up unless he's got some secret formula that we don't know about.
Because the problem is they can't find enough people who want to be police officers, period. NPR just had a story showing how Seattle is putting up billboards in Indianapolis trying to lure police officers to Seattle because across the country there's a huge shortage, and St. Louis pays less than the county, so it can't dig itself out of this problem. There's just nothing that the chief can do, and without more police officers, if he concentrates on downtown, you're right, Alvin, he's going to have to pull them from some other part of the city, probably North St. Louis.
How many murders does Seattle have? Like 12 or something?
No, they're probably 60 or 80.
Yeah, I was
something
saying.
like that.
But I mean, if the murder rate goes down, if we would talk about it if the murder rate went up. So I mean, it's fair game for the chief to say it went down.
I agree.
And it went down by like 13%. So I mean,
some of that might have been the U.S. Attorney Jeff Jensen who jumped in and started prosecuting.
Who knows who it is? But Chief Hayden has a right to be out there, and I think he's doing the right thing.
Sure.
Okay, Bill, I want to ask, no, I'm going to talk to you in a moment, but first I want to ask you, Wendy, about a sales tax on online goods sold by out-of-state retailers in Missouri, who thus far have escaped the state sales tax. So the governor, Mike Parson, has said, hey, we've got to increase that tax on goods sold to Missourians from out-of-state retailers. How do you feel about that? First of all, you must admit it's weird for a Republican governor to proposing a sales tax increase of any kind.
Not a Republican governor who's looking at a state with crumbling roads and bridges, and I think this is a sign that he is a realist. He's common sense. He doesn't need a semi-automatic weapon to get his point across in commercials. I really like him. And I think it's about time. We joined 29 other states that have these laws on the books. Finally holding, I mean, Jeff Bezos, the man has got more money than he knows what to do with because of the fact that he ships into states like ours without any sales tax. And according to Governor Parsons and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, you're talking about $150 million that can be used in, according to the governor, workforce development and infrastructure. So
I have a problem with it. And the problem I have is an identity crisis because I agree with you. And I'm like looking at Mike. Last week I got hammered sticking up for Jay Ashcroft, which is, this can't possibly happen. And now Parson, to me, I mean, I'm sure by this time next year I'm going to find things that I'm not happy about, but give him credit again, because the one thing, however, it's certainly not going to solve all the state's problems, but the idea that someone in state government is actually recognizing the revenue.
We were trying to convince you of that.
I know.
A couple of weeks ago, we were saying that Parsons so far has done.
Well, I said so. No,
here's the other side. Here's the other side of this, and that is what we're seeing in the state of Missouri, which I think should be a cautionary tale. We are, as you know, every year decreasing the income tax. And the Republicans are behind that, and they signed, they got this thing going. Okay, and guess what? They're shifting the burden to the little guy who pays the sales tax.
Exactly. But it's money from out of state.
The disabled veteran and Granny.
They're buying online.
They're buying them here.
These are online purchases.
These are Missourians buying them from out of state.
Charlie.
But you have to wait.
That's exactly what's happening.
Charlie, we need to collect this money. Like Wendy says, this is Jeff Bezos and Amazon.
No, Amazon's already paying it. Okay, Amazon already agreed.
Okay, well, all the online stuff that competes against the brick and mortar stores and all these people losing their jobs, and you want the brick and mortar stores to pay sales tax, but not online?
What I'm saying overall, what you are seeing in Missouri is that the guys with the income, including high income, are seeing their obligation of the state go down, while Granny, who's buying something online, has their obligation go up.
Apples and oranges.
No, it's the trend right now in Missouri.
Okay, so you think that the brick and mortar stores should pay sales tax, but online should not? That's yes or no?
Well, I'll tell you what, I do believe in fairness, like you say, but I also say for these Republicans who are being lauded by Wendy and
what
Reid,
was that
what they're
yesterday,
doing,
Charlie?
I do believe in the fairness. I do think that there should be some fairness, but what you're seeing is the burden is shifting, and you guys are applauding it.
And this is people who buy stuff online who are not paying sales tax now have to pay sales tax.
Yes.
But their Missouri is like you and I, Bill. This is an additional bill on them, and they're trying to scramble and find money anywhere where there is money to be found. Cigarette tax, gas tax, all that. But this is what I'm saying. You're applauding this guy.
Yes.
You talk about low-hanging fruit to bring John Mazaliak into the conversation. This is low-hanging fruit. This is a cheap way to just act like I'm doing something. This is ridiculous.
Look, I'm probably going to be the least in applauding him in a year. I realize that, but
why? Why are you planning on opposing him?
Because
you've done that for 31 years, and you just automatically have to oppose a Republican.
His position on a wide range of issues that are social issues and gun issues. I'm sure. I'm not like I didn't declare him a great governor.
We'd like an open mind.
My point is, you should be open-minded.
He's open-minded
about the fact that someone realizes Missouri needs more revenue. That's all.
Oh, please. There are so many better ways to get it.
I agree that there's better ways, but this is
I'm not giving him a pass on this one.
This is one.
Well,
I agree with you about the income tax.
Then you'll be happy about the internet gaming thing that Orrin Hatch and Chuck
Straight
Schumer.
gambling.
Right.
And what if the
Mr.
governor said, well, I'm not necessarily for that, but I won't stand in the way or whatever.
It's early.
Get out of the way and shut up.
Let's move on. Bill McClellan, I want to ask you about a movie maybe you saw years ago or maybe recently with the grandkids, Bambi. Turns out there was a deer poacher from Brookline, Mass, of all places, by the name of Dave Barry Jr., and he came to Missouri and he started shooting deer and decapitating them and taking the heads. It was pretty gruesome. So he got some prison time, and the judge sentenced him in such a novel way that it made the New York Times, and that is he said that once a month this Barry, while incarcerated, is going to have to watch the Disney cartoon Bambi. What do you think about that sentence?
I thought it was the silliest sentence I've ever heard. I mean, if you want to put a guy in jail, fine. But I looked at the mugshot of our deer hunter, and he didn't look like the kind of guy who's going to be all touched watching Bambi. I mean, it just seems silly to me, and I was surprised that a Missouri judge, somebody in the country, would do this. I mean, it sounds like something somebody in the city would do.
Lawrence County is southwest Missouri, is it not?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, I agree with you, Bill. I thought it was just absolutely goofy. He comes from a long line. I mean, and apparently his entire family has this kind of, I mean, this is the way they make additional money. They don't have paper routes. They go out and kill things.
Out of Brookline, Mass?
Yeah.
I understand that just goes against your sensibilities, but people from Massachusetts are coming here to poach our deer. No, I think it's if he's from this kind of a family, then it's Bambi. If he watches it on a real,
It's a Winterbone family, is the
Exactly.
sense.
It is a Winterbone family.
I'm with you, Bill. This is silly. Let him do his jail time. You want to make it watch something? Make it watch A Clockwork Orange or something like
How about
that.
having watch it? How about a PBS Nova special on wildlife? I mean, as opposed to a cartoon.
Charlie, okay.
He's trying.
Can I say something?
Yes.
It's silly, it's goofy, and I think it's great. I loved it. I actually thought it was fun. I mean, I don't think it's an importance, but I thought it was fun. And you know, I mean, look, I know it's Christmas, and if I'm the only one that, you know, cares about Bambi, it's okay. It's okay.
Bambi's
all care about Bambi.
Bambi's mom that died.
I'll be
It's
the
Bambi's
only
mom, by the way.
pro-Bambi. I'll be the only pro-Bambi
Bambi
person on the
survived.
Oh, and by the way,
I don't mind.
By the way, Bambi's mom was legally shot. Okay, like it was deer
I'll be
hunting
the
season.
only pro.
is that true?
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Oh, yeah. Stuff
I thought it was. I thought it
Yo.
was kind of. I don't like. I wouldn't call it important, but if he did serious enough time to get a year, the idea that I just found it entertaining that this judge was making a statement that you are cruel, and who knows,
We'll
maybe.
see.
He needs.
Alvin.
I liked it.
He actually made the statement that you're a thief.
Alvin?
Not that you're cruel.
What did you think of O'Fallon Republican state lawmaker Justin Hill, who is introducing legislation that would eliminate police departments in St. Louis County in towns that have populations lower than 5,000? So in other words, you got a small town with a police department, it'll be eliminated, and they'll have to merge, I guess, with St. Louis County.
Well, I mean, sanctimonious. Obviously, this is being backed by a bigger person, Rick Sanfield.
Do we know that?
I don't know that, but where is this coming from? Now, I know that, St. Charles County was being championed they were going to give the land free for the zoo project that's going to go in St. Louis County. I'm always wary of them. I mean, there's always some other, there's another ulterior motive. And this is, how dare they decide what municipalities in St. Louis County can do or cannot do. It is not their say. That belongs to the people who live in those municipalities. We're getting force-fed some kind of merger and stand up and fight.
Amen to that. And did you see that the representative was talking about we're just giving them the rights of everybody else whose rights they had taken away from on the earnings tax?
Yes,
sort of stuff?
right.
I mean, it's all nonsense. I thought that Republicans were supposed to be small government people and not intruding in on other areas.
Especially ones that they've never been to in their life.
Especially since, remember when in that small little town 4 police officers were recently indicted? Oh, never mind. That was the largest police department in the state, city of St. Louis.
Absolutely.
As if a small police department is less virtuous than a large one.
Thank you, Charlie. That was a great point. I didn't even thought about that, but that whole thing where nobody could believe that. Oh no, that never happened. But yeah.
And would this happen? Is he also applying this to rural Missouri? If you have a town of less than 5,000. Will that town have to eliminate?
No, it does.
No, I think it's just St. Louis County.
No, it was.
Well, who are they going to merge with if they're a rural town in Missouri?
Yeah, I thought it was just
and it had to be a neighboring
community.
Look, I don't
because
disagree.
his Republican friends are never going to vote for that.
You guys are acting like this is something. I mean, this is the guy is not. This is not a deal with Satan himself that he's come up with. We have all talked about how many ridiculous numbers of municipalities and the police department of St. George. I mean, this is crazy
I might say there's some problems, but I have never said this whole we got to eliminate municipalities, because I've always sat here and said, who gets to decide who gets to stay in town and who doesn't? The people
so
in
if
that
somebody
town
from
have
somebody from Kirkwood had come up with this idea, it's okay.
Oh no, Kirkwood will fight this tooth and nail. We will stand beside Moline Acres like it's Beverly Hills.
Sounds like Churchill.
I say this. I think that
Churchill over here.
We will never surrender.
On the
We will
beaches.
never surrender. On the beaches of our
Ray,
port.
let's give Ray a party shot.
I agree with the principle that we don't want outsiders dictating to us. But I will say this, the issue of minimum standards for police departments and doing something is something that is worth looking at.
Got it 4 years ago.
Because we are interrelated. We what?
We got it.
Well,
but
I mean, we could, the concept of getting rid of the tinier police.
Well, let's not
departments
tie that into this. I mean,
that's what this is about.
Well, should somebody from St. Charles dictate what the county's going to do?
I agree with you. I said I agree with you.
That's what they're trying to.
That's what they're trying to do,
right?
right?
What I'm trying to say is that.
Ray, this is the toughest question of the year.
Right.
And this is the kids who were playing with guns left loaded by their parents who left the house. In Pagedale, there was an incident. In Florissant, there was an incident. Gun owners are supposed to put locks on their guns or lock the guns away or keep the ammunition away from the guns. It's not happening. This is happening too often, where kids are getting shot and in the Florissant case, killed because of irresponsible parents. What should happen, if anything, to the parents?
I think the parents are in a prison worse than any you can put them in. And they've got a life sentence to a prison worse than anything we can do. And I think whatever we can do to promote, we're not going to get rid of guns. I'd like to see us do a better job of controlling them, but certainly we're not banning guns. I think if we were, as a state or a country, we ought to do better at educating gun owners and to that. But as far as these people, my heart breaks for them, and I think they're in a prison.
And you're right, Ray. I'm a big believer in the power of, as crazy as this sounds, public service announcements. Mothers Against Drunk Driving they changed the culture with those public service announcements. Have these parents, and they would probably be happy to sit in front of a camera to keep that prison off of the shoulders of another family. That this is my daughter. We lost her because we thought that there was no way our children would find this gun.
If they lawfully own the guns, if it wasn't registered and all that, then whatever, the penalty is for that, then they should face that. But to me, it's no, if you lawfully own the gun and this happened, it's no different than the doctors who left their child in the back of the car on the hot day. It's just a tragic, tragic mistake, but I just can't find a way to say that they should like do jail time or something like that if they lawfully
But let's
own
make
a gun.
something
How about
productive.
community service? I mean, because the PSA may work, but you know, if you have a pool, there has to be a fence around it. And if you don't put a fence around it and someone walks into it, you should pay a price. No matter, even if you do feel bad.
But you've broken the law, though. And these parents may not have broken the law.
Right. They broke common sense a little bit. I agree with Ray and Alvin that to punish them, like community service, Charlie, that's just punishment. And these people, I think they've been punished.
But apparently people
enough.
are not deterred because this is happening so frequently.
Well, I mean,
Hey,
go back to the hot car
didn't-
thing. I mean, like the Weather Channel does this throughout the summer, and every day there's like 3 or 4 throughout the United States. And you ask yourself, how is this happening? Well, it's a big country, man. And same thing with the guns. You know, like, hey, I'm not. And this is not an anti-gun statement. I'm saying, like, you got lawfully, you got a gun. The kid got it. A tragedy happened.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll get some phone calls on your turn, which is just around the corner. Let's first take a look at the old mailbag, including this letter from Michael Czerzinski. Charlie cited one example of one banker who left St. Louis City and moved to Clayton because of the city's earnings tax. That's the city. I wonder if Charlie could tell us how that banker's real estate taxes changed once he moved to Clayton. Well, of course, his work office moved. Though a committed fan of Donnybrook, I weary of the regular panelists, all from the well-off central corridor of the county, discussing the city and North County. That from Tom Kickham of St. Louis. Thanks, Tom. You can write us care of KETC 3655 Olive Street, St. Louis, Missouri 63108. Don't forget those emails, letters at ketc.org, and those tweets. Hashtag Donnybrook STL, which Alvin and Ray are going to read in just a matter of moments. Have a Merry Christmas and every other holiday you celebrate. The rest of us will see you next week at this time, but don't go away. We're looking for your phone calls. Have a good evening.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
The Thursday before Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all. I have to share a quick story with you. Because of our warm weather, I stepped out of the house today, and there were 2 chipmunks on my front porch, so we literally did have Alvin and the Chipmunks. I am not making this up. Kathy in South County, how you doing?
Welcome to the show, Kathy. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I agree with Charlie Brennan on the fact that Governor Parsons is going the wrong direction to find the taxes. Has he looked to see if all of the municipalities and townships have paid the taxes to the state? Has he looked at the heads of all the nonprofits that take in $100,000 to $300,000 a year for running those organizations? Are those organizations being run properly? Are they paying all their taxes? There are a lot of other places that he's been informed about that have taxes.
Well, first, I don't know of any not-for-profit. This is the question on the sales tax, I think, is really about whether, we, I think, disagreed tonight, but it's fairly peacefully on whether, it's a good idea to to tax out-of-state sales. I think it is. The main reason, I agree with Alvin that the income tax, there's other better ways to do this, but the fact that we have a Republican governor even talking about the subject of revenue, I thought was encouraging.
Right. And I hear you, Ray.
But, you know, it's all
right.
good. Who's next?
You.
Oh, Ray. That's me. That's not me. Ray from South County. Hi. Hi, Ray.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. Hey, this is my first time calling, and I totally appreciate everything that you guys do.
Thank you.
My question is about with the with the municipalities and their local police departments, wouldn't it make more sense that you would have a consolidated police department, whether that's the city and the county combined, or, you know, it doesn't really make any difference whether they, but when you have these small municipalities that have 500 or 600 citizens and having to pay the tax to be able to support a police department, which doesn't afford the efficiencies to be able to protect the municipality, it makes more sense that they would combine all of these forces, or these police forces, in order to create that police department that is being able to service the needs of all of the county. I just don't understand why there's such a resistance to that.
Okay, well, I selfish people like myself, Eddie Kirkwood, we like to have our own police department, our own fire department, our own services. Now, I know you're talking about the smaller ones, but Ray, what would you say when your tax goes up and it is justified by the fact that you now have to help pay for the smaller municipalities' police force? So your tax goes up, and like people in Kirkwood, Webster, Ladue, their tax pretty much stays the same. I think people will take a little dimmer view of that.
Well, I'm known for getting my predictions wrong. I will predict that in 2019 and perhaps 2020, this is going to be one of the larger issues that's debated. There's definitely a movement afoot to, I think, to have a statewide ballot item to basically for the state of Missouri to impose upon the city and county a merger, and it would involve, I believe, one police department. And I think that's going to be the big issue. I'm stuck in the middle in that I do think that we ought to have some minimums and some standards because we're interconnected. And you can say, well, every municipality has its right to do what it wants. Well, in a metropolitan area where we all travel among each other's municipalities, I think we have a right as a community to expect certain minimum standards, pay, training, whatever. That said, I do not like the idea of others telling us what to do. So it's going to be an interesting discussion that we'll have coming forward. Who is next?
That'd be Bill in Rock Hill.
Oh, Bill, who
Hi,
would
Bill.
join. Thank you, Bill, for joining us, ringing the bell for the Salvation
Yeah, sure
Army
did, last Friday.
Last Friday. Thank you for doing that, Bill.
Thank you.
What's up?
Well, concerning the potential consolidation of police departments and maybe even further consolidation of communities, you've heard me before refer to what I call the pizza politics of St. Louis, that if you order a St. Louis-style pizza, it's an accurate geopolitical map of the St. Louis area. Those little funny-shaped pieces around the ends are like the Calverton Parks and Veneta Parks. But at any rate, what needs to be done, what you're talking about needs to be done, but what I object to is having it dictated by Jefferson City.
Right.
If the people of St. Louis feel that these changes need to take place, they need to come from the local people and not be dictated from Jefferson City.
Right.
It goes for any of these issues, the earnings tax, consolidation of municipalities. There has been some of this happening. Recently, in the village of McKenzie.
I agree, Bill. And it
incorporated.
By the way, it already has happened, Bill. Thanks to that, thanks to this earnings tax measure, we the people dictated from across Missouri that cities like Columbia, Missouri, Cape Girardeau, Springfield don't have the right to impose an earnings tax if they want. And so it's happened. It's all, and it's going to be. I'm just saying, it's going to be an issue going forward. Excuse me, Bill. I didn't want to cut you off.
Well, but I think like I said, it needs to happen, but it needs to come from the people that live in these communities and not be dictated from Jefferson City or St. Charles County.
Which is kind of my point, too, Bill.
No, I get. All right, thanks for the call. Let's go to Jim in Overland. Hi, Jim. What's on your mind?
How you doing?
Good.
I listen to your show all the time. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to comment on the internet sales tax. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good thing because cities like Overland, where I live, we run the city basically off of sales tax revenue and business license revenue. Right. And if retail sales decline and the internet sales go up, the cities lose revenue. So we still have to provide services to our community. And that's, I think it's a good thing.
Good.
It should be equitable. But you have to have something there for the cities to generate the revenue that they're losing, or they won't be able to provide services.
Okay. Well, thanks for the call, and I think the level playing field is a big part of the argument for it. Let's go to the Twitterverse.
At Craig Riggins, it's not organizing and joining a union that I have a problem with. My problem is the bargaining unit, the SLMPD union they chose. Was there not another civil union they could have joined?
All righty. Thank you, Craig. And from Holy Star 77, if the governor was that concerned about infrastructure, let's bring that high-end income tax back up and see how many roads and bridges we could build with the revenue. And that's an insightful point from Holy Star 77. And we want to encourage you to keep tweeting us at #Donnybrook STL.
We're going back to South County with Tony. Hi, Tony.
Good evening, gentlemen. Merry Christmas to both of you.
Merry Christmas.
My understanding is that there's some Republican legislators that are thinking about bringing right to work for less back as an issue. And if they do that after more than two-thirds of the state voted against it, every one of them that signed their name onto the law should be voted out.
Okay.
All right. I would tend to agree with you, but the thing is that I don't know that they would be voted out. That's weird. Look, our last election just showed we changed senators, but yet voted for things that were basically propelled by Democrats. So I don't know that there's a price to pay.
Tony,
for bringing it back.
They've already done it. They did it on the puppy mill thing. Do you remember that?
The guns, too.
They did it on guns. The point is, that's what they do. And you're absolutely right. They should be voted out. But and that I have a sneaking suspicion that may be an issue that I may not be so fond of Governor Parson on. But great point, Tony. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
Great point. Let's go to Bob from St. Louis. Hey, Bob, what's on your mind?
Yes, guys. Thanks for your show tonight. I was calling with regard to the online sales tax discussion. I think we need to look at the reasons why people shop online. The presumption was made during the show tonight that the only people who shop online are those who can't afford the sales tax, and that's why they shop online and are glad that they can get it without sales tax. Everyone I know shops online, and they shop online because it's convenient. They can have 3 clicks, and the next day a nice piece of merchandise comes to the front door. And the fact that there's no sales tax is just a gift from the state, and I think it makes all the sense in the world to include sales tax from the state of Missouri for online purchases. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, that makes sense. And I didn't mean to infer that if it came off like that, because I'm not saying
Bill
that.
certainly didn't. Bill was simply talking about the fact that it levels the playing field.
Right.
Basically.
No, I certainly understand that. Hey, people buying stuff online, for the most part, aren't concerned about the sales tax.
No one is suggesting that people go online because they can't afford to shop locally. It's just, and no question that you're right about the convenience factor. I think we all do that online. And, I like the idea of taxing it.
Now, I've seen these commercials where you can buy a car online now. No, so maybe I might have to look into that real quick before we change that law. Let's go to Al in U City. Hi, Al.
What's on your mind, Al?
It's not a topic you had on this evening, but I'd like to address Alvin and ask him why his good buddy Stanger hasn't gotten out the real estate tax bills 10 days before the year end, and I know a lot of people who haven't received their real estate tax bills.
I'm sorry.
You possibly address that question?
And who is my pal? I'm sorry. Is he gone?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm here.
Who? I didn't. The name that you said. Who was it?
St. Louis County real estate property tax bills.
Yeah. Okay, but you said
you blaming Alvin for not?
No, I'm saying like you said somebody's name. Who is my friend who didn't send the bills out?
Oh, Steve Stenger.
Oh, Stinger. Okay.
I don't think he's Alvin's friend.
Okay,
He's
all right. But anyway, I got mine. I got my personal property tax bill a while back. I thought I did.
First of all, I don't know that Steve Stinger's maybe in Alvin's closest friend group.
And that's Mr. Zimmerman, right?
I think he might be talking about Zimmerman, but
yeah.
They can, as far as I'm concerned, they can take all the time they want.
I know. I hear you. But I do think I got my property tax bill.
I don't
know.
So
if you haven't got, call them. They'll take care of it.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Let's go to Clifford in Sunset Hills. What's on your mind, Clifford?
Gentlemen, always appreciate your observations on Thursdays. Tonight, regarding Prosecutor Bell, I can understand and appreciate why the prosecutors are joining a union. Simply, when you have a fear of the unknown, which to them is the unknown, after you've had Prosecutor McCullough in for 28 years, everyone has an interest and concern, and when you start talking about reform, they wonder what does reform mean to them. So I can understand why that has taken place. As to out-of-state sales, I'm a firm believer in that. 29 states are doing that already. South Dakota, in the Supreme Court ruling, opened the door even wider, so Governor Parsons is looking at that. And when I see so many small businesses going out of business, I have to think that people are buying online because they're saving the sales tax. Across Missouri, the sales tax can get as high as 14%. So I can understand why all those things are taking place.
All right. Thank you for the call, Clifford.
Thank you.
And,
all right. Carol, St. Louis County. Hi, Carol.
Hi, how are you?
Just great.
I'm just calling about the sales tax, and one of the things that I have thought about was I don't mind paying a sales tax. I think that it's going to be a way, because I order a lot online, but I don't do it to avoid the sales tax.
Right.
I actually do it because it's convenient and it's free
Makes
shipping. But I still would not object to paying a sales tax to the state that to help bring revenue in.
Good
That's
for
all
you.
I have to
Good
say.
for you, Carol. Well said. And I, as I said, my big point has been on Parson is that the Republican Party's mantra has been smaller, less government, which has translated into 40-something rankings in our support of our schools, both local and higher education, our prisons, yada, 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 yada. And I just encourage that we're looking for a source of revenue and leveling the playing field at the same time. I totally respect, folks that disagree on it, but I don't think anyone's suggesting that people are going online because of sales tax. Right. That has nothing to do with it. But thank you for the call, Carol. And let's go to David in Brentwood. Hey, David, what's on your mind?
Hi.
How you doing?
This is David.
Right.
I have a comment on the kids finding unsecured guns. And I'm wondering, you didn't discuss what would happen if the kids shot one of their neighbors who was in there playing with them, and what would happen to them.
They'd probably get sued, but that'd probably be it. They probably would not face a criminal charge, but they probably would face some kind of, liability. But other than that, no. I think it would be the same other than a legal circumstance.
Yeah, and, you talked about public service announcements, and that's really great. And I'm wondering, why can't the NRA, instead of having all the political commercials, fund public service announcements and gun training, which is what I thought they originally were supposed to be doing?
They say that they do that. I don't think they take out national commercials, and I'm not saying that they do or they don't. I'm just saying that I do agree with you on that they have the money, they have the resources, that they could basically launch a campaign that if you're going to have a gun and it's legal, these are the steps you need to take to make sure children don't get hurt, and that should be on every football game, every baseball game, at least once a night.
Would be interesting.
I agree with you.
Would be interesting to see an analysis comparing the NRA's budget for purchasing politicians with purchasing PSAs. Let's go to the Twitterverse.
Joni, 820-35791. I agree with Ray. I think making a poacher watch Bambi was a beautiful idea. Made me laugh out loud. Might also make him buy a subscription to the Sierra Club.
I agree with Joni. From Disgusted 5-0, a fitting sentence for the parents of the children who found their gun would be to require them to attend a gun safety course. Okay, and that's thought. We appreciate all the tweets to hashtag Donnybrook STL. Keep them coming.
Actually, you know what? If you got your license, to carry before, the last 18 months, you had to take a course to have your gun legally, so they probably did.
As a parent, I just don't think, I feel for the parents, I feel for the families, and I think it was a horrible tragedy that will stay with them for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely.
That's all I have to say. Who's next?
That's Rue in Granite City. Hi, Rue.
Hello?
Yes?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Okay, I wanted to come in on the tax thing.
All right.
The aspect I'm coming from is there seems to be this discrimination against a lot of us who are not online, who never get the break of not getting the tax break. And so we're the ones who pay all brick and mortar people and stuff like that. We have to pay the taxes when a lot of us don't have the money to do that.
Okay. No, I hear you. Hey, Rue, before we let you go, because I don't know, is Illinois one of the 29 states that does make you pay sales tax, or do you know? Because I don't. I actually don't know.
I don't think so.
And the other thing, if I can make one small comment about the gun issue.
Sure.
The thing that I see is if they were to present a picture of the child who died and let it come from that child's perspective on those infomercials or whatever you want to call them, that they say, that I never will become this, or my mom and dad thought it was safe. And
I hear you. And actually, I know the horror of it all and whatnot, because, but that's actually, if people okay that, family, so that would be a good thing to do. I would have no problem with that. Because they do that with cancer, and they do that with a lot of other things. And this is if the family chooses to do so. They shouldn't be forced to do it. But if they chose to do so, I think that would be effective.
Thank you for the call. Let's go to Steve from Concord Village. Hey, Steve.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
Hey, when you say that the sales taxes, people don't pay any attention to that, and it's not a factor in their decision to buy online. The state of Missouri audited us as a small business to see if we were buying stuff online and avoiding sales taxes on it. So, they're looking for computers, shop equipment, stuff, big ticket items where you would be paying $200 or $300 in sales tax.
Okay.
And, if everybody's avoiding that, that's a lot of money.
Okay.
That makes sense.
No, that's good. And all we were saying was it wasn't the main motivating factor for people to go to Amazon or whatever. That's all.
Right. But you make a good point, because in my mind, I'm thinking when I buy some Converse tennis shoes, I really don't care if I have to pay sales tax or not, because the shipping's free, one caller did. But I could see where the state doesn't want you to buy a whole bank of computers that cost $80,000.
And then this whole use tax issues. I assume that's what you're referring to, Steve, about how they're watching for that at a corporate level, or company level. Thanks.
Don in O'Fallon. Hi, Don.
I've got a question about 20 Messengers column and the Post-Dispatch, where we're putting people in jail and then we're charging them money for every day they were in jail. I mean, how widespread is this? This just seems tremendously unfair and just kind of crazy. I'm just interested in your comments.
All right, I'm not. I kind of half read it, so I'm not familiar.
Yeah, we were kind of sticking to things we talked about in the show. Tony writes a great column. We really didn't talk about it tonight, so we'll probably move on.
Right, I don't know
anything else on your mind?
Did they put Bambi in jail?
Also about driving Metrolink. I live in St. Charles County. I really don't feel safe driving on Metrolink.
Well, you don't have to worry about it because it doesn't go to St. Charles.
Well,
thanks, Don.
Let's stick to
Let's go to Chuck in Edmondson. Hi, Chuck.
Hey, Chuck, what's on your mind?
Well, I originally was going to call in and talk about the sales tax, but I think that's been covered. And what I'd like to do, when I heard Bob talk, one of the other men, is you guys are influential enough, and I think Wendy made a wonderful analogy that perhaps we could get some of these people that have been unfortunate with this experience to remind them what MAD has accomplished.
Right.
And if we could help these people, and then Ray's comment was exceptionally good, that they're in enough prison themselves because they have to live with this. But if we could help somebody or get somebody together to help these people see what MAD did and teach them how they could do the same thing and perhaps help other people. You can't remove the pain, but I just wanted to reiterate that was a great suggestion, and I just pray that someone could take a hold of that.
Good thought, and with Christmas coming up, that's a nice sentiment. We appreciate it, Chuck. Thank you very much. Bill from Chesterfield. Hey, Bill, what's on your mind?
Thanks. We've been watching you since you started.
So
we
appreciate that.
I've been charged the sales tax by Amazon since last January, and I've not heard anyone say anything about it. So, and Ray, thank you for your comment. Boy, that is a life sentence, and it's pain.
How long have you been watching this, Bill? How long have you been watching this?
All right.
You know, I've been watching a lot of.
years,
I've been watching a lot of Harry Potter with my, with my daughter and son, and it's interesting to see how they each year they watch the kids grow up. You watch the kids grow from. I can just imagine what people, if they've been watching, particularly McClellan, for 32 years.
Oh, well.
They've seen the rough side of the aging process.
Please, I see that 2008, 2010. I tell my daughters, I said, like, you see that guy? He had no gray hair.
They've seen they've seen some aging on just from the comfort of their living room.
Yeah.
Who's next?
That'd be Gary. Hi, Gary.
Hi, guys.
How you doing?
Alvin, during question time, you were talking about the increased tax burden that would occur to small municipalities that were forced to contract out their police services. Do you have any indication from a study or otherwise that it's more expensive to contract it out?
No, what I was saying was, if you have a small municipality that has a police department, okay, and whatever their taxes are probably much lower than what, like, the large municipalities pay. I'm thinking that if you had one centralized police department, okay, the people in those municipalities, their tax might remain the same because they only, they don't have that many businesses, they don't have that much of a population. I'm saying that it might cause those people who live in larger municipalities, what goes to, like, their police department locally, it might be higher. So in other words, the burden might shift to the larger municipalities to help pay for this large police department as opposed to just paying for your own.
All right. Good discussion. Let's go to Hank from Wentzville.
Hi, Hank.
Hank?
Yeah. Hey, those guys that joined the union, they just did the first step. Now they've got to negotiate a contract, and we'll see how that goes.
Oh, that's a good, you know what? That's a good point, because technically you got to figure out what are you bargaining on and what, exactly what is that about?
If there were issues, I mean, like I say, if this had happened 6 months into Wesley Bell's term, I'd have a different view of it. To me, I'll stick to my basic statement, which is that Wesley Bell has a mountain to climb that Bob McCullough and no one ever else in the history of St. Louis County government has, certainly in the prosecutor's office, has had to climb. That's my.
That's true. And I don't know what was going on when Bob.
We got probably. What do you think? We have time for one more call, right?
Yeah. All right, Bridget, real quick for us. Go right ahead.
Hi, Bridget.
And hi. Regarding all the gun talk, I think what needs to happen is we need to ban the violent video games. We're wondering why all these kids are getting shot in schools. There's actually video games out there that teach kids, they're so-called gaming on computers, but these games teach people how to shoot kids in classrooms and also in, like, office environments. These are games that kids are.
All right.
We got to.
Right. We got to get out of here. I will say this. I was afraid of guns, and this is not an NRA or anything like that. I just was frightened of guns. I never wanted any part of any gun, so maybe you got a little point there, Brennan.
Well, there's some First Amendment issues that get opened up on that whole subject
I'm just
when
saying,
you start talking about. I sure appreciate the sentiment, and we really appreciate all of you in the Channel 9 viewing audience. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas, and thank you for watching. We'll see you again next week.
Happy holidays!